For years, Bobby Driscoll was the most popular child star in Hollywood, until Walt Disney turned his back on him. The heartbreak sent Bobby on a downward spiral, which ended with his tragic death. And even though he was gone, Disney still dealt him one final humiliation. Bobby Driscoll was born in 1937 and by all accounts had a normal upbringing. He stumbled into acting purely by chance, and it was all thanks to a fateful encounter. 5-year-old Bobby was getting a haircut when the barber remarked to his parents that he should be in the movies. The barber then connected them to his son, who was an actor himself. After taking one look at Bobby's adorable face, the barber's son got him an acting agent. His new agent soon found him the perfect part in an upcoming MGM film called Lost Angel. The part was a tiny one with a grand total of 2 minutes of screen time. Bobby won the role despite fierce competition, and other studios immediately saw his potential. In 1944, 20th Century Fox offered Bobby a role in their World War II drama, The Fighting Sullivans. He portrayed a young version of Al Sullivan, one of 5 close-knit brothers growing up in Iowa during the dark days of the Great Depression. Audiences warmly received Bobby, leading to even more film roles for the 7-year-old actor. From 1944 to 1946, he found work in films that needed a cute, gifted little boy. While those roles got his acting career rolling, it was his next role that took Bobby's career to the next level. After 3 years of taking on minor roles, he got the chance of a lifetime when he caught the eye of Walt Disney. Disney placed him under contract, making Bobby one of the first actors to ever be placed under a contract at Disney. The young actor's days of small movie roles were over, but this new life would eventually lead him down a dark and dangerous path. The first Disney film that Bobby appeared in was Song of the South in 1946, in which he took on the starring role of Johnny. There was a lot of pressure on Bobby to perform. At the time, Disney's finances were in shambles thanks to World War II, and they desperately needed the film to do well. While the film received mixed critical reactions and was rather controversial upon release, the film netted Disney a profit, and Bobby received critical acclaim, turning him into a star practically overnight. From there, he quickly became one of Disney's biggest moneymakers. Disney immediately started production on So Dear to My Heart. This was a joint venture with RKO. During production, the bigwigs at RKO were so impressed by Bobby's talent that they borrowed him for 2 very different films. The first was If You Knew Susie, a comedy musical. The other presented a whole new challenge for Bobby. The Window was a black and white suspense film noir. In the film, Bobby played Tommy Woodry, a boy that witnesses a murder only to have no one believe him due to his reputation as a liar. The part was a far cry from his usual roles. There was no singing, wisecracking, or cartoon animals involved. After filming wrapped, Bobby's career hit a major snag. Howard Hughes, who'd just bought RKO, thought the film was unworthy of release. To make things worse, he dismissed Bobby as not much of an actor. As a result, the film wasn't released until the following year, in May of 1949. When The Window hit theatres, it was a hit with audiences, and the New York Times credited the film's success wholly to Bobby's performance, stating that The Window is Bobby Driscoll's picture, make no mistake about it. At just 10 years old, Bobby proved to the world that he had what it took to be an exceptional actor, and it led to one of the biggest highlights of his career. In 1950, at just 13 years old, he received a very special Academy Award that recognised his work in So Dear to My Heart and The Window. In 1950, Disney cast him as Jim Hawkins in Treasure Island, the studio's first all-live-action film. Not only did it give Bobby another chance at a starring role, but Disney planned on filming in the UK, which ended up being a problem. During the middle of production, authorities discovered that Bobby didn't have a valid British work permit. Both his family and Disney received hefty fines, and Bobby was ordered out of the country. There was no way Disney could complete Treasure Island without him. Or was there? The authorities in the UK allowed Bobby 6 weeks to prepare an appeal. Instead of doing that, Disney used those 6 weeks to hastily film all his close-ups. After he was booted out of the country, they filmed the rest of his scenes using a stand-in. Despite the obstacles, Treasure Island was an international smash hit. It was so popular that Bobby reprised his role the following year for a radio adaptation of the movie. The young boy was flying high, but unfortunately his run-in with the British authorities had a bigger impact on his career than he could have imagined. As a result of those legal issues, Bobby was unable to work on the next 2 major movies that Disney had planned for him, both of which were filming in the UK. Still, Walt Disney had a lot of affection for Bobby and signed him on to a second contract. For the next 2 years, he continued to find work in film, television, and voice acting. At the same time, he was working on another project, and it would define his entire career. Between May of 1949 and mid-1951, Bobby was working on Disney's animated version of Peter Pan. Not only did he voice the titular Peter, but he also served as the reference model for the film's close-ups. The film was incredibly well received, but in an ironic twist, its success ended up being Bobby's downfall. Although the film was successful, Walt Disney himself didn't like it. He thought that Peter, and Bobby by extension, came off as cold and unlikable. Ironically, critics of the film thought that the portrayal was a huge step up, as the original Peter Pan book portrayed the character as a complete sociopath. Unfortunately for Bobby, after this, Walt's affection seemed to run dry. In a project meeting held after the completion of Peter Pan, Disney stated that Bobby was better suited for roles as a young bully and stopped giving him roles as the likeable protagonist. As a result, he received very little work from 1952 onwards. Disney still kept him on their payroll, but it was clear that they were losing interest in their once favourite kid actor. Things came to a head when Bobby hit puberty. With it came a severe case of acne, which marred the boy's flawless face. One day in 1953, Bobby arrived at the entrance of Disney Studios as usual, only to find his way blocked. The guards refused to let him enter, and abruptly informed him that he was no longer under the employ of Disney Studios. After his dismissal, Bobby, now a teenager, looked to other Hollywood studios for work. In a sad twist, his work with Disney made it incredibly difficult for the young actor to find roles. Most still thought of him as Disney's kid actor. Outside of his career, his private life was going just as poorly. His parents withdrew him from the Hollywood Professional School, an institution that served child actors, then sent him to University High School in West LA. His past as a child actor made him a prime target for ridicule from other students, resulting in his grades dropping. Alone and friendless, he turned to drugs at the age of 17. Thanks to the money he saved up while working for Disney, he had the cash to experiment with a wide variety of drugs, and his experiments led him down a dark path with no return. Eventually, Bobby convinced his parents to re-enroll him in the Hollywood Professional School, where his grades improved. In May of 1955, he graduated and even found work in television. He appeared in a variety of anthology and drama series, such as Dragnet and Medic. Sadly, these small successes weren't enough to turn his life around. After a few years of experimenting, Bobby became a full-blown drug addict. Every cent he made went straight to fueling his addiction. Soon he began butting heads with the law. In 1956, he was charged with possession of marijuana. In December of that year, he made the decision to elope with his longtime girlfriend, Marilyn. The two had 2 daughters and 1 son. On the surface, this sounded like a successful marriage, but for Bobby, that wasn't the case. According to him, his personality took a turn for the worse during his marriage, and his dwindling career soon followed suit. In a last-ditch attempt to distance himself from his Disney days, he began using the name Robert Driscoll when looking for acting jobs. He managed to land 2 television parts in 1957 and a film role in The Party Crashers in 1958, but it was too little, too late. In 1960, Driscoll's life fell apart all at once. As his personality deteriorated, his marriage suffered. He and his wife separated, then officially divorced in 1960. Over the next year, Bobby ran into trouble with the authorities again and again. They took him in for drug possession, battery, burglary, and more. It was clear that his drug addiction was destroying his life, and in 1961, everything came to a head when authorities sent him to a narcotic rehabilitation centre. By early 1962, his prison sentence ended, but it destroyed his chances of becoming an actor ever again. For a short time, Bobby did everything he could to rehabilitate his image. He briefly worked as a carpenter and cared for his young children. In 1965, a year after his parole expired, he made the decision to relocate to New York City, planning on starting life over. There, he attempted to revive his career on the stage. He had the acting chops and the singing talent, but his Broadway career was largely unsuccessful. Instead, Bobby found a place beside an extremely eccentric individual. Warhol welcomed Bobby with open arms, but his reasons for doing so may have been sinister. Bobby found work as an artist in The Factory, Andy Warhol's New York City art studio. According to one Hollywood biographer, Warhol loved having Bobby Driscoll as part of his scene. In particular, he loved the idea of having a bitter ex-Hollywood actor as part of his crew. Whatever Warhol's reasons were, Bobby produced some outstanding pieces of art while working at The Factory, and for a short while, his life took a positive turn. Critics praised his work, with some of his art even being temporarily displayed in Los Angeles in the Santa Monica Museum of Art. He even got a chance to act one last time in the movie Dirt, an experimental film directed by Piero Helixer. Bobby's moment of peace was painfully brief. In 1968, his heavy drug use caught up with him. On March 30th, 2 boys playing in a deserted East Village apartment stumbled upon a gruesome discovery: the body of Bobby Driscoll in a cot, with 2 empty beer bottles nearby, surrounded by religious pamphlets. An examination revealed that he died from heart failure directly related to his drug usage. Tragically, there was no one to identify his body. Police showed photos of him to people living in the neighbourhood, but no one had any idea who he was. As a result, the city buried Bobby Driscoll in an unmarked pauper's grave on Hart Island. Over a year later, in 1969, Bobby's mother attempted to find her son to reunite him with his dying father. After contacting Disney, she was eventually led to the NYPD and found out the harrowing news about her son's death. In 1972, Disney re-released Song of the South, which reignited public interest in Bobby Driscoll, the smiling little boy in the film that brought Disney back from the verge of bankruptcy. Only then did news of his death finally go public. Although he did much to bolster Disney during a time of crisis, he's still, to this day, not part of Disney Legends, the Disney equivalent of a Hall of Fame. Even worse, Disney distanced itself from Song of the South and Peter Pan to a lesser extent, both films in which Driscoll played a pivotal role. The exact spot where the city buried Bobby remains a mystery. His burial records, along with many others, were destroyed in a fire. All that's known is that his body is somewhere in the northern part of Hart Island, surrounded by deer, red raccoons, and a bird sanctuary. If you enjoyed this Factinate video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more incredible stories. If you want a say in who we cover next, join our membership program through the link in the description for exclusive perks. Your support means everything to us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.